The following story has been brought to you by StoriesToInspire.org.
So listen to this story about open your hearts to another Yid. A cousin of mine, dear cousin of mine, is a head staff member in camp. And one summer, a number of years ago, he was walking by the kitchen and he noticed that one of the kitchen workers was not very happy. He looked sad. Now this is a Jewish boy, a young teenager, maybe 16 years old, and he looked depressed. Now this boy had to work very hard in the kitchen, and he was constantly cutting the potatoes and preparing all the food for supper. He had a kitchen job, which everyone knows in camp is a very hard job. He never left the kitchen. Every day when my cousin would walk by, he'd wave to him and say, "Oh, how you doing?" And he would smile, and this boy would look up and he would smile for a moment and then go back about his business. But he looked sad, he looked depressed. And every day he gave him this big Shalom Aleichem, and he smiled, but that was it. One day he says to himself, you know what? I got to make this kid happy. He's here all summer. He's not having a very good time, it seems. We got to get him to go play some ball, go swimming, have a good time. So he says, that's it, I'm going in there. And that day he went in and he said, listen, we'll call him Yankee. He says, Yankee, what are you doing over here? Go play. He says, I can't. I have work to do. How much work do you have to do now? He says, well, I got to make 1,000 cookies. He says, and how long will that take? It's going to take me 3 hours. So I don't have time to go play and go swimming. He says, listen, Yankee, I think you have to go play. You have to go swimming. You have to have a good time. And it's good for you. I'm going to help you. He says, what do you mean? He says, I'm going to help you. I'm going to make 500 cookies. You make 500 cookies. And that way, it'll only take an hour and a half. And so he rolls up his sleeves. He puts on some gloves. And he starts making these cookies. And he makes 500 cookies. And Yankee makes 500 cookies. An hour and a half later, they can leave and they go on their way. And this boy thanks my cousin. He says, wow, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. That night by Ma'ariv, my cousin sees Yankee, and he's by Ma'ariv. Now he didn't come to Ma'ariv all summer. All of a sudden he's davening, he sees him davening, and he was impressed. And then Yankee came over, and he says, Rabbi, I want to speak to you for a moment. He says, yes. He says, I want to tell you something. I was in the middle of having the most terrible, rotten summer of my life. I work all day. I never get to play. I never get to do anything. I don't get to swim. I was just having a terrible summer. I'm so depressed. And this morning I said, Hashem, I don't know if you exist. If this is my life, I have a terrible life. I'm having the worst summer of my life. If you're really here, Hashem, show me. Show me that you're here. Show me that you care about me, Hashem. And then what happened was, you came in. And you said, you want to help me with the cookies. And I couldn't believe it. And I finally had a few hours on my own time to have some fun and play some ball and go swimming. And I only did it because you came by. It had to be from Hashem. Hashem really loves me. And that's why I came to Ma'ariv tonight. Rabbi, you made my summer. You really made my summer. It's incredible that when we care about another Yid, we can make their summer. We can make their life. We can make them happy. We can do so much for another Yid, but we need to put in the lave. We got to give it our hearts. We got to open our hearts. Keep your eyes open and look for opportunities to spread the Havas Yisrael.
Enjoyed this story? Come again. Bring a friend. StoriesToInspire.org